Welcome in for another edition of NewOrleans.Football. As always, NewOrleans.Football is presented by PJ's Coffee, the best coffee shop in the land. So make sure that you check them out if you want something good, just in your system as a whole. And also, if you're going to the PJ's, make sure that it's in a ride from Matt Bauer's Auto Group. They have the new pre-owned center at 3750 Veterans Memorial Boulevard. Make sure you go over there, check them out if you want to be riding clean this summer. Tell them NOF sent you. Let's get into our first topic presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. Mike, yesterday we got a chance to talk to Trevor Penning. A prominent storyline this offseason, but not the top over the quarterbacks, of course. But we got a chance to talk to him about his transition from tackle to guard now, and he had some insight on it. You wrote up something on the website for us, so make sure you check that out. Use code NOF for 20% off. But should we buy into Trevor Penning's optimism?
Look, man, I did not want to buy this year, or I wanted to cautiously buy. I wanted to be cautiously optimistic. I like probably 90% of our readers or viewers or listeners. This has always made sense. We see Trevor Penning mauling guys in the run game. We see him struggle out in space as a pass protector. So why not move him inside the guard where he can just maul? I've always understood that, even though behind the scenes, as Nick and I both have said many times, we talk to a lot of people about it. It's such an obvious concept that we talk to, people in the personnel and scouting department, coaches, and it's something they were resistant toward. They wanted to make him work at tackle. I think because he's got physical attributes that most people don't have, that combination of size and athleticism. So they wanted to make him work at tackle. But the reason that I didn't want to fully be on board is I thought his move to right tackle was a little overhyped last year. I thought it was great to see him finally have a solid season and actually be able to hold his own and not just be this, he didn't get talked about like a disaster. And in some games he was actually one of the better players on the field and he had some really good games, but he wasn't wonderful. And now you're changing his position again and expecting that to go smoothly. That's asking for a lot. But man, talking to him yesterday, he was like, finally, they're finally letting me play guard. This is the position I've always wanted to play. Everything I do well, I get to do. I can't wait to pull. I can't wait to get my hands on guys right away. So you have to move bigger guys. I love moving bigger. His face lit up. He said, they called me into the office. I knew it was coming, and they said, we think this would be the best move for you. And I said, I couldn't agree more. We're talking about Trevor Penning, who has battled confidence issues, who has openly battled confidence issues. And he is so sold on this move, and he is so excited about this move that carries some weight with me. If I thought it had a 40% chance of working out to the point where he's going to win this job and start every game this year at left guard, I think I'm already up to 60% chance. Just from talking to him and seeing what a boon it is for him. Because a lot of times with him, it reminds me a little of, Marcus Davenport or whatever. It's battling confidence issues is a big hurdle to get over. And that is not going to be an issue with this transition. He's all in on it.
Yeah, no, for sure. We've talked over the past couple of shows about players who need to put it together, who need to have that season of having it all together and just come together. And Trevor kind of had that last year. He wasn't battling any injury problems. He was playing serviceably last year. And you and Nick on Monday's show, you had rankings on the hype index, and cautiously optimistic, I think, is the fairest way to go with this before any snaps really get played. Because if you remember to his rookie season, how he was that guy, not just picking fights, but just mean out there.
If we see him picking fights in practice, we'll know he's feeling good. That's a good point.
Yeah. You saw kind of where he can be when his mind is on top. And I think that, hey, if you pulling and being able to rev up a head of steam to pop a guy is where you need to be, then hey, do it. So I'm pretty cautiously optimistic. Like you said, I haven't put a percentage point on it yet, just because you haven't seen it. You don't know what the learning curve is to be right there. But I definitely think, it kind of had no choice. But at this point, he can make it happen.
Yeah, I talked to Eric McCoy about it, and he said, this is his quote, I've seen him play left tackle, right tackle, and now left guard, so I've seen him all across the board. Mm-hmm. I think that right now is the most confident he's been in his career, McCoy said. And I think that was evident when we talked to him. So look, that's the reason for optimism. Let me ask you this. I think the fate of not only the 2025 Saints, but whatever they're going to be for the entire Kellen Moore era, this current rebuild, if they don't have to blow it all up and start all over again, it depends on Calvin Banks and Tali Fuaga being true first-round talents. Like those guys have to be the foundation for wherever this team is going. It is Trevor Penning make or break, or he's kind of like the fifth offensive lineman, and so what? If they switch from Penning to Dylan Radins, no big deal. Or do you think Penning is one of those pivot point players that'll help determine this team's future?
I think it's kind of too late to even put him as a pivot point player. He's already been a part of a regime that's not here anymore. And, he's already the guy that has been moved for new talent coming in. So, yeah, I think it's a little too late for that. And even with his fifth-year option, they didn't pick it up. So that shows you kind of what they think about that. But even going to his self-confidence going into the season, yesterday in the conversation that the media had with him, almost 10-plus minutes long, a lot of smiling in that, man.
Yeah.
So, like his confidence is there. Now, if he can put it together and then you can re-sign him at a cheaper price, perfect. It all works out because that nucleus of all that first-round talent is definitely still there. But no, I don't think it's make or break if he comes through or not. I mean, I think this is just a chance for him to try to stay in the league and try to stay relevant enough to, be able to play around. I think this is the chance to unlock him.
I've mentioned this many times. I owe someone copyright payments or something because I saw it on Twitter a month ago, and I don't remember who said it, and I apologize, but that it would be so Saints for Penning to be awesome at guard, and then they can't afford to re-sign him at free agency next year. And it's so true. But I mean, look, it can't remind me more of Andrus Peat's career path. I mean, his rookie year was a disaster. Also battled confidence issues. They tried to move him from left tackle to right tackle. It did not work out. Couldn't do it. And then they kind of reluctantly moved him to left guard. Well, let's try this. And the light bulb went off, and his confidence grew as he went on. And he was a first-round pick in 2015. I think it was 2017, his third year, when he was really killing it as a left guard. And then he was solid. I mean, he was never great. And I think a lot of people are actually upset when the Saints ended up paying him $11 million a year in his second contract, 5 years, $55 million. If the Saints are paying Trevor Penning 5 years, $55 million next year, I think we'll get the same reaction. We'll get, well, it's good that Trevor Penning became such an asset that they decided to re-sign him, but they're paying him how much? So Andrus Peat, early in his career, I think feels like an exact comp almost. Yeah. And I think it would be a win if his entire career plays out like Andrus Peat, which was never lived up to the hype of a first rounder, but you wound up serviceable is a good word, but maybe slightly above serviceable, I'd say, with Peat. Yeah. And that would be a huge win with Penning.
Yeah, I mean, look, with the way the season went last year, I know it was time for Peat to move on just to get his entire career just on another track. But man, if they had Peat last year, it could have been better. They could have definitely used him at multiple points in the season. But I think with Trevor, it just continues to just be, all right, you just got to make it happen. You know what I mean? That's the ultimate point at this point. Just he just has to make it happen. And he was name dropping people like LaCharles Bentley yesterday. So
yeah, he's been working with us, been helping the Saints out too, and he's obviously learning from Jari Evans, who's on the staff. In addition to, he talked about TJ Paganetti, who's the run game coordinator. Obviously, Brendan Nugent. So a lot of new people working with him. He's also been working out with Duke Manyweather in Texas, along with some of the best offensive linemen in the entire NFL. That's a good place for an offensive lineman to be training. So he's. People are trying to point in the right direction.
And you know what I think also helps him? The time removed from being that first-round pick that the Saints traded up to get, because now you have eyes going back on Fuaga, on him having to hit, and now eyes are on Banks on him having to hit. So I think him being kind of lower in that pecking order of, there's eyes on him, but the expectations aren't the same as those other two guys can help him out also.
I agree. Yeah, like he was living under a microscope. And last year really helped, and I asked him about that, and he acknowledged, like last year just being like, all right, like he didn't say back off, but it's like, all right, I was good enough now that not everyone's just talking about Trevor Penning. Like being ignored would be great for him.
Right. No, and sometimes that's it for some people. You know what I mean? He went to a small school. He's not used to all of that, you know what I mean? All of that hype and noise surrounding around him. He enjoyed it at first. I mean, he was out there fighting every day. You know what I mean? At the beginning of the camp, at one point, him and Peyton Turner and some other people were getting into it at points and periods. But I think now with the microscope kind of being a little zoomed out, him
Yeah.
being a part of just the offensive line instead of saying, "Oh, Trevor Penning and the offensive line," you have two people there that you can focus in more. I think that's going to bode well for him also.
All right. So leading into the second part of this topic, first of all, two-part question. Would you say Trevor Penning's arrow is pointing up? I think it's
Yeah.
fair to say, right?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say right now. Yeah,
I
because
mean,
he hasn't put
last year
himself
was
in
the best year of his career,
Mhm.
and we think this year will be even better. So that's kind of the definition of arrow pointing up. Now, I'm not going to nominate him for like a league's list of the 10 players in the NFL whose arrows are most pointing up, but
No.
his arrow is pointing up. I think that's fair to say. Somebody who finally had their best year last year, and we think they'll be even better this year.
Right.
But it got me thinking. That's a short list on this team. Unfortunately, I think it's one of the reasons for this incredible pessimism surrounding the team, even though a tiny bit of optimism now that they're rebuilding themselves. But who on this team actually would you put in the arrow pointing up category right now?
It's such a hard question because you haven't seen enough yet. You haven't
Yeah.
seen enough to legitimately put there, but Nick and I, we had a whole like 12-minute conversation the other day about the running back room and Kendrick Miller.
Yeah.
And as of right now, yeah, I got to put his arrow pointing up, but he has to consistently stay consistent to keep that arrow in that right direction. Penning, we just said he could be on that list. He definitely is on that
Just
list.
real quick to define the conversation.
Mhm.
You're talking about Kendrick Miller's arrow pointing up like if we're saying since February, like his arrow is pointing up because he's healthy in the offseason, because career-wise his arrow isn't pointing. I mean, like he ended last season with his arrow pointing down, I would say. So
For
you're talking
sure.
about since the end of last
Yes.
season's
Yes.
disappointment,
Yes.
it's pointing back up this offseason with his fresh start, I assume is what you
Yeah,
mean.
yes, and that is what I mean in terms of this new coaching staff is in here and they're not scratching you off and writing you off as,
Yeah.
oh, don't even worry about him. They're excited about the chance to work with you and build you and create, you know what I mean? They're not just saying, oh, well, he's on the team.
They went in that shed behind the practice facility. They found his arrow, they cleaned it off, and they handed it back to him. And they said, "Hey, this got tossed out last year.
Yeah.
We want to give it back to you."
Yeah. Fresh coat of paint and everything. And I mean, that clean slate is kind of what a lot of people need. And I think he's definitely one of those players. That defining that definition is important in an exercise like this. And yes, that is the way that I interpret it. I really can't pin Rattler.
Yeah, I had
kind of can be on this list.
Group of question mark guys. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, last year I think was a positive. He went from a 5th-round draft pick to a viable NFL starting consideration, and he's hitting the ground running this offseason. I think he qualifies.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's on that list because he hasn't done anything. We'll talk about the quarterbacks more later, but he hasn't done anything to say, oh, well, this is leaps and bounds ahead of him. He should be an afterthought. But also,
It's tough, man.
yeah, it is tough.
Like
It is tough.
a year ago, we would have said Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed.
Easily.
Boom, boom. And we're so excited about them. We would have
Yep.
said Pete Werner. We would have said Carl Granderson.
Yep.
We would have said Paulson Adebo. We would have said Alante Taylor.
Yep.
All the and there's more guys. Like you do off-season shows. Let's rank the top 10 players whose arrows are pointing up right now. And that's
Easy.
why you get excited about a team in June.
Yeah.
And this year, Chris Olave is coming off a down year. Rashid Shaheed's coming off a down year. Paulson Adebo's gone.
Right.
Pete Werner kind of stalled a little. Like he's not bad, but didn't take the step up. Carl Granderson, I talked to him last week. He wants to get back to that motor he had in year 2 and year 3, and he thought he lost that last year. Chase Young, a little bit, but I mean, this is a team, and then obviously DeMario, Kamara, Cam, older guys, McCoy coming off injuries.
Those are known commodities.
There's not a lot of,
yeah.
So I'll tell you a couple guys that I think qualify. Fuaga, I mean, he was a first-round pick who had a good, solid rookie year, and we expect him to take a year 2 leap. I mean, he's probably number one on this list for me for the definition of that category.
And he's back in his prime position. So
yeah, and he's moving to right tackle. Like I would say, arrow pointing up on Fuaga. Brazil, I'm a little torn on. I would say yes. I just talked to him yesterday. He's very optimistic. He's fully healthy. First offseason, he hasn't had any kind of surgery, he said. Obviously, he had the 7.5 sacks last year, I think.
Yeah.
He went from 4.5 to 7.5, and now he should be even better in year 3, theoretically. I'm not like putting exclamation points on that because I don't know if he can top what he did last year. I hope so. It's incredibly important for this team that he does, but he's a career arrow pointing up kind of guy. And I guess you'd have to say the same about Kool-Aid McKinstry, who was a second-round pick, who should be better in year 2. But everyone else I had question marks on here. I kind of want to say Rashid Shaheed for the same definition of you. He's getting me excited watching him in OTAs. I think the offense will be good for him. They're throwing him slants. They're throwing him short passes with yards after catch opportunities. They're not just sending him on deep routes, although I talked to Coach Keith Williams about him, and he's like, he needs to prove he can do that in games. That's what he has to do. He has to prove he can work in traffic. But I feel like if I had to bet on someone finally having the best year of his career, I'd say that about Shaheed, even though last year was a little bit of a dip. And then I'm kind of torn on Justin Reed, I'd say maybe. Still, he's had about four good seasons in a row. It's not like last year was a breakout season, but I think he's a guy with his arrow. This is his career arc right now as he's still a young guy. And then Alontae Taylor, I'm a little torn. Is he arrow pointing up? Is he probably? He played more than ever last year, and I think he's going to be more important than ever this year. Those are all the Bub Means, but he missed half of last season.
Right,
he's pointing up just because he's healthy and getting an opportunity. That's all the names I had on my list.
Right,
a lot of them are maybes.
Yeah, man, that's a tough list to make up. So we'll have to see how this season plays out. But we're gonna hit a quick break right quick, and then when we come back, we'll have more show. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number 1 grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Hardhide flavored whiskey, Ponchatoula strawberry, and Chilton County peaches in your favorite bars, stores, and restaurants. Hardhide Chilton County Peach Whiskey is a blend of aged wheat whiskey, light American whiskey, and fresh Chilton County peaches from Alabama's Durbin Family Farms. And Hardhide Strawberry Whiskey tells the story of a small town famous for strawberry farming. A delicious natural strawberry-infused 86 proof whiskey for whiskey lovers. Just look for the red and orange bottles in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants.
Welcome back for more NewOrleans.Football. It is now time for our next segment presented by Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant. Mike, let's talk more about the rookies, man. Let's go into those guys who this is their first foray out there into the NFL. Which rookie do we expect the most from this year outside of rounds 1 and 2?
Yeah, Quincy Riley came back to practice this week during OTAs for the first time. He was dealing with a minor surgery that kept him out of rookie minicamp in the first 2 weeks. He might be the answer to this question just because I think he'll get on the field for sure. But in what capacity, we don't know yet. Most likely it's going to be Kool-Aid and Alontae to start. Then you get into nickel. Alontae goes into the nickel, and Isaac Yiadom right now would be the third corner. Or Alontae stays outside. Ugo Amadi comes in the slot. We saw a little Terrell Burgess in the slot yesterday. But Quincy Riley has an opportunity to get in that mix as a nickel or dime back. I mean, I think probably the rookie that I think has drawn the most buzz and has turned our head in a couple of moments during OTAs is Danny Stutzman at linebacker, but I don't see a path to him getting on the field unless Mario Davis or Pete Werner gets hurt. Vernon Broughton would probably lead this team in defensive snaps because they will rotate at defensive tackle, defensive end. He's the highest draft pick of these guys as their first third rounder. I think he's probably the answer to this question. Does Jonas Sanker have a path to the field? Probably not. Devin Neal, does he have a path to the field? Yeah, maybe, but he's going to have to beat out an undrafted rookie and Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be the number 2 guy, or 3 guy with Kendre Miller and Alvin Kamara. Maliki Bantavao, 7th round tight end. There's opportunities at that position, but there are a lot of guys. Fadil Diggs, the other 7th rounder. I mean, I got to go Broughton because, look, he's the highest drafted guy. In theory, as talented as anyone else on this list, but I think definitely the most opportunity to play on this list. Quincy Riley would probably be my wild card.
So Vernon Broughton is my answer for right now because he's going to get real run, but Devin Neal.
Okay.
And we were talking about this running back conversation and evolved into so many different things. And you start thinking about these processes of, okay, we have to see Kendre. We have to see how much they can trust him. Then, I had stamped Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then yesterday he was getting those reps, but you still have to see how that continues whenever the bullets start flying for real. And with Devin Neal, you just look at his college tape, what he is.
Oh, yeah.
But when they start flying for real, you got to see how he adjusts to that NFL speed. And I think he possibly can do it. Now, I'm not trying to justify it because I stood on it, what I said, but I think Clyde for this preseason kind of time, yeah, sure, he can be the number 2, but I want to see Devin Neal and Kendre Miller really battle it out for that second spot. That's what I want to see. Good on good, talent on talent. I want to see them go back and forth when we're in that week 6 period. Okay, these guys are getting real run, whoever wins out of that internal battle. And I think just with his skill and his ability, he can definitely be on that list of getting real run. But Vernon Broughton, I mean, he has to clear his path to the field right now for me.
Yeah, I think Vernon Broughton kind of seems like the easiest answer. Now, I shouldn't say easiest answer, though, because he has the clearest path to the field because they rotate so much at that position, but not like a starting role. I mean, I think it's Nathan Shepard and Brian Brzee as the starting ends with Godshaw in the middle when they're in their base. When they drop down to just 2 defensive tackles, I think we're going to see a lot of Godshaw and Brzee, and then you've still got Nathan Shepard, you've still got Colin Saunders, Jonah Williams is playing a lot. I mean, there's a lot of guys there competing for snaps. I feel like obviously I left off the other big nose tackles they have, Ridgeway and Boyd, and he's going to have to earn it, but he at least gets to start with probably 10 to 15 snaps just coming off the bus, and assuming he's active for a game, and then he can turn that role into a much bigger role. Riley's interesting to me because I mean it's wide open. We haven't seen enough. We've seen 1 OTA practice for him, but we were excited on draft day. I mean, it'd be really interesting to find out if he gets in that competition. Are they giving him some days with the ones? Is he competing with Isaac Yiadom to be cornerback 3? Because if he is, then he becomes the answer to this question. If he can earn that role, it's a big if, though.
Yeah, definitely. If he can earn that role, I'm excited for him. I put him on my flag football team in 2028. So
that is true. You've given him more love than anyone in. No, that's true.
So definitely, I think he can develop into anything when he gets onto the field. I feel like he can develop. But let's transition over. Of course, obviously, the thing that we've barely talked about this show, the quarterbacks. Yeah. Yesterday, OTA 3, it kind of leveled out for me in some things between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough. So kind of what were some of your observations?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say leveled out. I mean, I think Rattler has been really impressive in the ones that are open to us. I think the best day that Shough had a really good day last week, and it was like, yeah, we definitely have something here. And I think the best day he had was one where we weren't there.
We weren't there, yeah.
Highlights of it when they were in the red zone. But yeah, look, neither one was like absolutely destroying it in the red zone. Nick has to write up about everything they did. But I mean, I think this is good. No indictment on Shough whatsoever. I'm excited about him. I'm excited to see, his development. I think that the Saints are working with more talent and potential at that position than any rookie we've ever seen them work with. To be honest, since Archie Manning, but
who they bought in to talk to him.
But Rattler's going to look ahead. Rattler's got the experience. Rattler's got 7 NFL games under his belt. It's a new offense for both of them, so he doesn't have that edge. But I won't be surprised if Rattler looks better in the first preseason game. I won't be surprised if Rattler looks better in the first 10 days of training camp. I won't be surprised if Rattler looks better in the joint practices against the Chargers. And that won't be an indictment on Shough. That's right. the year
I'm
one
expecting that.
Yeah, and the fact that both of these guys are really talented. But that's a great thing that Rattler, if we were just looking about Rattler, back when this offseason started, hey, the Saints should move on from Derek Carr and give Rattler a chance. I'd be super, super optimistic and excited about the way he's attacking this offseason and hitting the ground running. So it doesn't always have to be a conversation with who won the day, Rattler or Shough. I think I'm very encouraged by what I've seen from Shough so far. It's very clear that they've got a lot of talent to work with, and he's 3 weeks of practices into his NFL career. And I'm also encouraged by Rattler looking like he's taken those year 2 steps. So right now I'd say positive on top of positive. Their arrows are both pointing up.
Look at you, man. But I think that is a positive just for the quarterback room as a whole with those 2 in there. There's no, this is the guy that they're going to put out there when it comes to both of them. So I think that's pretty safe at the moment to just say that, there's potential with both guys. But yeah, I'm expecting Rattler to look better. Shough, he's more of a firecracker when it comes down to it. He's made those big explosive plays. And we've seen the tape. They put him out. We've seen it happen. But I think we have to see how he progresses, see how his mental progresses when he gets real bullets thrown at him. And that's something I'm going to continue to say because that's really how you can test these things. Now, he's going to be in the red jersey, so nobody's really going to get after him to sack him until that first preseason game. But I really want to see what all of that looks like coming together. It has me very giddy and antsy for training camp.
That's 4, baby.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. We're going to hit another break, and then when we come back, we'll have more show. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
I got hurt in a car wreck. Why should I get Gordon?
Because when you're hurt, you need money. And I fight for the people of Southeast Louisiana every day. I got a client who injured their neck in a car wreck, $250,000. Another client was hit by a big truck and needed back surgery. I got them $700,000, and they deserved every single penny.
That's what I'm talking about. Why wouldn't I get Gordon?
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, just call me, New Orleans. Get it done.
Call 504-800-8888.
Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant dropped some new apps, and they nailed every single one. The Southwest Chicken Egg Rolls, crispy, packed with flavor, and the Avocado Ranch seals the deal. Crab claws in a creamy Cajun sauce? Don't forget the French bread. And the fried chicken cracklings? Crunchy, sweet heat. You'll want your own plate. Open 7 days a week, and yep, they deliver late. Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant. Delicious food, superior service. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back to NewOrleans.Football. It is now time for the Get Gordon question of the day, presented by Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. Today's question is, any update on Burnup the punter?
I hyped the crap out of this guy, so I picked this question in case anyone's wondering, why isn't Mike talking about Burnip every day?
Very quiet, Mike. You're very quiet.
We haven't gotten to see him punt yet. But I thought it was worth noting because, look, we're doing 3 shows a week. We are observing everybody we can out there at camp. And these are 2 of the most interesting battles in camp, Group B versus Charlie Smith and Matthew Hayball versus James Burnip. So we have seen Charlie Smith and Blake Grupe kick. Charlie Smith looked really good in that first OTA, kicking with confidence, kicking with power. We've only been indoors so far for the 3 OTA sessions we've seen. Grupe, as far as we can tell, made every kick in each of the last 2 sessions, including yesterday. Next week, we get a 3-day mini camp. We should be outside for all 3 of them.
I think it's supposed to rain Tuesday, so I'm gonna hedge my bet on that.
Weather permitting, outside, unless weather moves them inside. We got the weather forecast. We should do a weather segment at the end of every.
We should.
Weather and sports at the end of every one. And when we're outside, I think we're going to see those punters punt too. So that is why there haven't been a ton of punter updates, but we have seen Burnip out there, and there has not been an OTA go by where somebody has not walked by and commented, "Wait a minute, that's the punter."
Exactly.
He's huge.
Exactly.
Who is that? Number 46 or whatever he is. That's the new punter.
Right.
So I'm excited to see him put that power on display and to see that competition kick off as well.
And that's what I was about to say. When he walked past in the locker room yesterday, I was like, Crimson Tide. Who is this cat? I said, oh, that's the punter.
Another defensive end? Man. Is that Jonah Williams?
Nah, that guy is huge, man.
For sure. So I'm excited to see that competition kick off. But obviously, look, I think Blake Grupe could have been in the arrow pointing up conversation. I thought he had a really nice last year. They when he had to fight for his job and then he won it, and I don't think he looked back. So I think he's going to be a hard guy to unseat, but I think Charlie Smith's going to be fun to watch in year 2 as well. So plenty more to talk about with mini camp and training camp with the legs that we have so far not been discussing very much.
Hey man, and I think that is the exciting teaser that we're going to end this show off on. Mini camp is next week, so hopefully you guys will be out there because they're open to the public. Hopefully you secured your tickets, and we're going to be out there. So keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football for everything Saints. Catch you next time.